I'm sure that our crowd will be fired up. The energy will be elite. The passion our players will play with should be great. I'm sure same for them. And really looking forward to the game. I think we're healthy, so that's good. So we'll see exactly what that looks like, but I feel like we're very healthy at this point going into this game. I feel like our guys are fired up to go into this game, and looking forward to it. Looking back at last game against UCLA, I thought we did a lot of good things. A couple things we could clean up, which we will, which we have. But for the most part, I thought that the way we played offensively was certainly good to very good. I thought defensively was on the high end of great, the way we played on defense. I thought it was an elite performance by our guys. Coach Walters, the defensive staff, put together a great plan. I think a lot of that quarterback and a lot of some of the skill guys they have, and I thought that Coach Walt and the whole defensive staff and our players really did a fantastic job of executing the game plan. On the special team side of it, Coach Petroli spent all week talking about fakes and the opportunity that might present. I thought that Alex McLachlan handled that opportunity exceptionally well. I think we punted twice in the game, and other than the two punts, I think every field goal, I think we kicked 2 field goals. Grady made all of his extra points. So really, and our Ethan kicked the ball out of the end zone or into the end zone, I think, every time. So altogether, I thought it was a really good game, especially, when you hear about some of the history of Washington football going down to Southern California and playing at the Rose Bowl. It's brought to my attention that it was only the second win since 1995. It was the largest margin of victory since the 60s against UCLA. And it was, I think we were 1-9 going into the game. So all of that is really cool for our players, for our kids. But now all of our focus is on to Oregon.
Coach, one of your units that we just haven't talked a lot about, your defensive line. Deshawn Lynch just seems like he's really popped the last few weeks.
Yeah, Deshawn, I believe, leads the nation in pass breakups for a defensive lineman. He's had 7 passes deflected, which is really special. Obviously, the forced fumble and the fumble recovery. He's 2 back-to-back game balls. The last 2 games, both against Purdue and UCLA. I think Deshawn, it took him a while to get healthy, and probably didn't have him until I believe it was week 3, maybe 4. But when he's gotten back healthy, he's made a huge difference for us. And I'm really proud of the way Deshawn's handling himself, the way Deshawn's playing. And I definitely can see such growth throughout the season.
What's your hope right now as far as what Jonah and Denzel in particular might be able to do this week? Or they think they'll be close to their full typical responsibilities? Or
yeah, I'd expect them both to be back in a much more significant manner than they were last week. What that means, I don't know how many reps that is, but a substantial amount. I also believe that we've put ourselves in a really good position with the amount of plays that Adam has played, seeing the way Adam can do it. Amari, Raiden, I was just told, is cleared to play. So I believe that, all of those guys, Denzel, Raiden, Jonah, will all be good to go for Saturday, barring any setbacks.
Is there any update on Landon Hatchett? Because we saw him still in the ball cast on Saturday.
Yeah, he'll be in it'll be the same. Like, if he was to go in, he'd go in with the cast. But he can play in terms of he's cleared to play, but he'd have to play with the cast on.
Any updates on Drew as a party? Is he going to be able to go?
Yeah, we're gonna start practicing with Drew tomorrow. We're gonna get him some team reps on Wednesday and Thursday and see how he's doing. But right now he's trending in a positive direction. He's done a great job with rehab, and our goal is that I'll be able to get him into the game in some capacity.
With Deshawn coming from FCS to adjusting to Big Ten football, where did you see, what did he have to do to get ready for this level?
He's a really good athlete. He's a really good athlete with great size. And, I mean, you see some of the plays that he's made, like his ability, his football instincts, his ability to jump, his ability to see the ball coming out of a quarterback's hands, his ability to chase down a runner on the backside, to drop into coverage, to win on a pass rush. I think for him it was just, reps. It was just reps. And there was just moments in time that he wasn't as healthy as we wanted him to be, so he missed a lot of spring. And missed a lot of training camp, or all of training camp. So we needed to work him back in.
Coach Walters talked last week about maybe going away from some of the old schematic tendencies he'd had, adjusting to the personnel here. I'm just curious, like what your perception is of the way the defense is playing relative to what you knew of his background when you hired him.
Yeah, the most important thing whenever I talk to a coach when looking to hire a coach is, are you willing to adapt to the personnel that we have? All of us might have a book that we might want to dust off, but the bottom line is that the players make the game and the players make the plays. I think what Walt showed me in our interview and all the times that we talked and the other coaches I talked to during that period of time about him was his ability to be adaptable and his ability to be able to, he had a certain package that people were well aware of what he did in terms of the five down front and the man coverage, and he was very well known as a guy that really liked to live in man coverage. But as the evolution of football has occurred, as we brought in, as the athletes continue to, to get better, as the passing games continue to improve, you really can't live in one coverage. You have to be able to be willing to move out and, into zones, out of zones, two high, one high, different variations. And I think he's done a fantastic job of it. I think I was looking, I think there's 19 different defensive categories that were ahead this year than we were a year ago in our second year. I think we're top 20 in scoring defense and total defense. And when you look at the overall, the overall package of where we're heading, I think it's just going to continue to get better and better and better. And it really starts with Coach Walters and the defensive staff willingness to adapt and figure out what our players do best.
Jedd, I think you talked about this post-game Saturday, but the 4th and 1 touchdown, up 34-7 with Jonah, how much of that was wanting to see how he responds to the knee versus getting him into the box score versus just continuing to play?
It was about getting Jonah a touchdown. It was about Jonah's given everything to this program. Touchdowns are cool. We were up. What are you going to kick a field goal from the 1 yard line to go up 37-7? I didn't think that was the move. So, I'm not going to shy away from trying to score points, not going to shy away from running our offense. And I told Jonah, Jonah, hey, here's your plan for the week. You're going to play third down. You're going to play a couple snaps here and there. And then if we're inside the 5 yard line, we're going to try to get you a touchdown. And that was our plan. And that was the only set of plays that we were actually inside the 5. So we stuck to what we said, and we were down in there, and I told them we handed it off 4 times in a row. And it was, on all 4 of those, from the 5 were to try to get Jonah into the end zone. And I'm glad he did, got the 16 touchdowns, and continued to build that up.
Alex McLachlan has been pretty good since he hit the college level. You offered him a preferred walk-on a couple years ago. Is he better than you thought he was originally, or has he just come on like gangbusters since that offer?
No, he's 100% better than I initially thought. We miss in recruiting sometimes, and that was one of those that I felt that for where we were, that he was that he fit in as a preferred walk-on, and instead he chose to go to NAU on scholarship, and he was right. He bet on himself and won, and I think that I love that about him. I sat down, I met with his mom, met with his dad, went through the whole process during recruiting, explained to him what it would look like to be a preferred walk-on and how we could earn your scholarship after a year. And he said, you know what, I'm going to go earn my scholarship somewhere else, and then hopefully you'll come back and get me. And I just think that Alex has done everything you could ever ask for in terms of, hey, like, I believe in myself, and he's shown that. And it's been super cool seeing what he's been able to do, and I think he's just going to get better next year. So we're really excited and grateful that he decided to give us a second chance.
You guys obviously didn't miss on Dez Robuck. You were very early on him, and it's interesting that he was a guy in Arizona who broke a bunch of records and didn't have the 20 offers though. And there's some people I guess didn't see it in the same way. And I'm curious what you guys saw early on that maybe some other people didn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure he had any offers other than us at Arizona, and then at the last minute maybe he got thrown another offer. But I thought from the second he walked onto our campus as a 7-on-7 player that he was unbelievably elite. He would be one of those kids that you'd have a 7-on-7 tournament and he'd have 5 touchdowns in every game he played. He was the guy that they found every snap, his ability to catch the ball. And, Coach Cummings, Coach Doherty, myself, as we were watching him through all these little 7-on-7 tournaments that we had on our own campus, the football camps that we had on our campus, he came to all of them. It was just very clear to us that this kid's special. And then it was just a matter of making sure he stayed under the radar. No, it's just a matter of him wanting to come with us. And I think that, he's a really special player, but he's a really special person. He's a great kid, great family. And we're just really, really happy that his mom and dad decided to let him come out to Washington and come here play for us. And I think we're all seeing the fruits of their labor of trying to really raising such a great kid.
Kind of joked about keeping guys under the radar, right, once they commit. Do you feel like you're almost recruiting players harder after they commit to keep them with you guys when all the vultures start showing up?
Yeah, I always say, I remember talking to Tommy Lloyd, the basketball coach over at Arizona. I said, the difference between football and basketball is in basketball, when they commit, they're done. In football, when they commit, that's when you actually start recruiting. It's just such a crazy world that we feel like we have to recruit till signing day, and then recruit while they're here. And the best part about our program, I believe, is that we are who we say we are. So when we recruit you, we tell you who we are. When we sign you, we show you who we are. And when you get here, we show you we haven't changed. And our process of recruiting guys is very clear, that we're going to identify who we think is best for what we're trying to do. We don't get wrapped up in who others think is best. And then we're going to do everything we can to make sure that person understands where they'll fit in. And then we know that we've got, 10 days left before signing day? I think it is a week from Wednesday. And, for these next 10 days, it's full court press on every one of our commits. And then a few more potentially that might want to come join us, at the very end. So we're excited where we are sitting right now in recruiting for sure. But, there might be a couple surprises in the end too.
Final home game at Husky Stadium, chance for the seniors to be recognized and to walk. Anything of note on guys who may or may not walk out on Saturday? We give an opportunity for anybody that's in their 4th year to walk. We don't talk about whether they want to return or not. We'll have those discussions after the fact. Some guys know they're coming back, so they choose not to walk. Some guys aren't sure, so they choose to walk. I wouldn't look into who's walking per se, just because there might be a couple guys that walk that are just walking because it worked out better for their families to come this year than next, and other times that they didn't want to take a risk. But, I do believe there's some guys that have graduated elsewhere that came here as a grad transfer that won't be walking. There'll be other guys that have made decisions to walk or not walk. But I haven't seen the total list or the final list yet. But there'll be some emotional ones. There's some guys that I've had for 4 years, 2 places, that are going to be walking. I don't know who will have more tears, Amber or me, giving these guys a hug at the end there. But it's going to be certainly an emotional time out there when they run out, especially the guys that we've had for all 4 years and have started for us for all 4 years.
Is there anybody listed as a senior who might try to get another year of eligibility one way or another that you know of?
Like, for example, like a Zach Durfee or something like that? Or
Ontario Thompson said.
Ontario Thompson. Yeah, we haven't had those. We haven't gone through that exact list just yet. We're going to wait till the end of Oregon game and then sit down with any of those guys that potentially have come from a junior college or potentially have had a medical hardship or potentially have a reason one way or the other to try to file an appeal. And then we'll sit down with Kylie
and Max and say, is this a scenario that this person can return or not? And then give them that option to do so. But, there's a couple of those scenarios out there. I just don't know all of the details and then really where we believe it'll fall with the NCAA.
Does knocking Oregon potentially out of the CFP do anything for you with a win this Saturday?
Beating Oregon does a lot for me. Knocking them out is just another part of it. But we want to do everything we possibly can to get a win on Saturday. And that is our plan, to do everything possible to get that done. We will work exceptionally hard, knowing that we have a really, really good opponent coming in town. I think they're 5th in the country right now, rightfully so. And we have to play our very best this coming Saturday.
With your offense, you've swapped out 4 of the 5 starting offensive linemen, all 3 original starting wide receivers, and now you're running back. Has it been a challenge for you guys to keep that group? I know it's next man up, but still, that's a lot of personnel to come and go.
Yeah, we have had a lot of changes due to injuries and circumstances, and I feel like our whole offensive staff and our team have done a great job of responding to those. Of course, it's a challenge because as you're calling plays, you have to, in your mind, remember you're calling it for which wide receiver is in at this time, and you might have put a play in with a certain expectation of a certain wideout skill set and then have a different wideout in there, or you might have practiced a bunch of throws to one guy and then it's your first time getting that throw and it's somebody else. But I believe that we've done a really good job of developing these young guys. I think when you look at the development of all the young receivers, Coach Cummings and Caleb and Keikoa have done awesome jobs. 2 of those guys I coached and played for me at their college at Michigan at UCLA. And Coach Cummings and I've been here 5 years. Coach Graham and Dom Caldwell have done an amazing job with the running backs. So Adam and Jordan and even Riken has been ready to go and, had a great blitz pickup. And you look to see what's happening there. Unfortunately, Quaid, rolled his ankle, but he would be ready to go. And then Coach Switzer, Coach Brewster have done an awesome job with the O-line. I mean, it has been a carousel on the offensive line, and I think because of how well they've trained those guys, they've all been able to step in. Coach Switzer was a GA for me in 2015 and 16. Mike Brewster played for me in 2013 and 14. So I've known these guys a long time, and I have nothing but total trust in what they've done. And I think it's very clear that we've got Champ, we've got Drew now, John Mills, you've got Guerin, you've got Carver, you've got Pocky being kicked out to left and kicked over to right and back at left guard. And it's been really cool to see it.
How is Oregon different now than the team that you saw at the end of last year? Besides the obvious, which is the quarterback, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback's different, but the quality of the quarterback's the same. They're both NFL quarterbacks that are exceptional. I would say their defense is a year older. It's the same edge rushers that they had a year ago. They're just a year older. Their safety that they got from Purdue that played for Coach Walters, I think is outstanding. They have a freshman corner that is elite. I think they had really good corners a year ago. They have a ton of depth, where I see that Oregon has separated themselves in a lot of ways in comparison to a lot of teams is their depth. Their roster is national. They have a ton of players I brought it up in our meeting when we were looking at they got 2 guys from Maryland, 2 guys from Texas, guy from Indianapolis, a guy from LA. They're kind of all over the place. They're able to recruit nationally, and they've signed a ton of high quality players. So it is going to be an all day sucker on Saturday.
You built this team with a lot of good young talent. They've had a lot of experience playing in big games against Ohio State, Michigan, and also a rivalry game against Washington State. How important will it be for them to keep their emotions in check this weekend?
Yeah, I think that we learned a lot from Wisconsin game. We had a lot of freshmen out on the field at the same time, and everything kind of was happening quickly in that situation. It was colder than they've ever had. The weather wasn't the way they expected. It was windier than they've ever played in. They're playing all positions they haven't played because of injuries. They've been thrown into the fire with no real veteran leadership in a lot of ways. And from that game, I thought DeMond took over, and he really grew up. He went from being a sophomore to being a veteran quarterback. I really believe after that game that he was like, you know what, I could take this group, I could take this team, I could take these young guys, I can get them going in a manner that we can, spend extra time preparing. We could get ourselves in a position where I don't just have to spend time with Denzel, but I'm going to spend time with all of the young guys. I'm going to spend time with all of the running backs, all the tight ends. Decker DeGraff has had his 2 best games since that game. Dez Robuck, 2 best games since that game. So I think that what they've all felt, Adam Muhammad, same thing, that there's just all kind of rose up together. And I'm not as worried. I'm not as worried this week as I was. I would have probably been 3 weeks ago in terms of how are we going to handle the electricity of this atmosphere and let's call it the size of the game.
You mentioned
Oregon
with
this
the-
week, I think most fans would agree that the Oregon game is a bigger rivalry game than the Apple Cup. There's a lot of vitriol between the fan bases. Does that filter down to the team? Do they understand how big of a game this is for the fan base?
Yeah, of course they do. They understand how big it is for the alumni. They understand how big it is for the fan base. But I don't think anybody wants to win more than the players, right? And right behind the players are the coaches. And then is everybody else. And I think that for our kids, they're going to put everything into it. They're going to pour everything into it because for the rest of their lives, they're going to either have won or lost the game that they played this Saturday against Oregon. And same with the coaches. And fans will have next year. And the kids, they may or may not. And they're going to play this game as hard as they possibly can. We're going to lay everything out there. We're going to see the outcome. Whenever the outcome is, the score will take care of itself. We're not going to look at the scoreboard until the game is over. But we're going to do everything we possibly can to play our best game on Saturday, knowing that we are young, knowing that we're building this program the way we want to build it, knowing that we're going to do everything we possibly can to give them everything we have.
You know, you mentioned with Jacob, there's an agreement with his family that he wanted to play in front of his family and friends in LA. I know Jonah had a lot of family there too. I don't know if that went into the touchdown decision. How do those conversations come up, especially with these guys who you've been with for a long time?
Well, Jacob's situation was different. When Jacob and I met in January when he came on his official visit, we talked about the game. We talked about the schedule. We talked about his knee. And we had a very clear-cut plan that we were going to redshirt Jacob this season, and then we were going to play him next year. And just based upon when the surgery happened and the way the rehab was going. Part of that, I said, we'll be able to choose 4 games that we can play you at. And he's like, Coach, you can pick any of them, but just let me play at UCLA. And I said, deal. And then what happened was Buddha got hurt. And when Buddha got hurt, I had to, play Jacob early because Zadrius wasn't ready. So we had to play Jacob against Maryland. And when that happened, we made a decision. And that decision was we got to do what's best for the team then. And now we're in a position where Zadrius is ready to go every snap. And Devin's able to go every snap. And X-Ray is playing at an extremely high level. So we were okay not playing Jacob this week, knowing that those 3 guys have elevated their game to such a point that we felt great about those linebackers against Oregon, and we felt great about the linebackers we had against UCLA. And that was why we were able to play Jacob in this game. We wanted to get this 8th win. It was really important to us to get to 8-3. We wanted to be 3-2 on the road. We wanted to, get to a spot where we can, win Big Ten games on the road. And we were excited that we were able to do that. And we felt like the plan was in place properly.
You know how much family he wound up having there?
I know. There was a lot of hugs I was given, though, after the game. I do know that.
One guy we've seen a whole lot more over the last couple of weeks is Champ Talalea.
Yeah.
What was the point with whether being a practice or anything that you just saw the step forward that you were looking for to feel more comfortable throwing him out there?
You get better at playing football by playing football, right? You get better at football by playing it. So what we needed is Champ to get as many reps as he could in practice, to get more and more comfortable, to be in a position where he was ready to go. So we were able to use these last 4 games, 5 games, whatever it might be, to get him, really let him take off next year. And we feel that when you're building it the way we build it, which is by freshmen and not by portal, that you can't hold guys back all year. like we have to see who we have. So like, it's just doesn't, like there's different philosophies on how you build your program. For the way we build it, we're going to play with freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and a couple transfers sprinkled in. Other people play with juniors and seniors and a bunch of transfers. So for us to do that, Champ needed reps. I needed to make sure that we had what we, going into the spring, winter, then spring, then next training camp, that we knew exactly where Champ's baseline was and exactly where we can take it. And I thought he did a great job in practice the last 4 weeks. He continued to evolve his body. He lost some body fat. He gained some muscle. Our strength staff did an amazing job of getting him ready to go, and it was time.
Have any chance of going?
Yeah, I think we expect minimum reps from him, but in a similar capacity as we were able to get from Jonah this past week.
According to practice as well.
Good.
Great, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.